Good old boys.
I'm Mark.
Bog beef. So what's happening, buddy?
The governor just said that we all have to wear masks whether we like it or not.
Like, did he make it a felony or?
No, actually, it's not enforceable by the police. It's only the health department. So I guess it's pretty much.
Everybody can be happy with that.
He's very nicely asking everybody to wear a mask. People aren't happy about it around here, though.
Yeah. All right. So I guess the big thing to address, just because it came out yesterday, this is she's kind of the you can't ignore her. Angela Nagel just did What's Left with Twitter guy Tink Zorg. And it was really good. It's 2.5 hours. I don't think you've listened to it yet, right?
I have not.
So we'll come back to that another time. I've got like a substantial disagreement with one of the main things that they went through, but not like in a it's a yes and.
Sure, it's a friendly disagreement.
Yeah. So we'll address that another time. But I mean, if you're listening to this, you should go check that out. It's What's Left. Angela Nagel did it. It's a heavy hitter. All right. So in terms of like business, there's two Clyburn stories that came through, and we have to stake those out. This is the Clyburn cast.
Yeah, of course.
So, once again, just to review this, 99% of people should not be, in my opinion, 99% of people should not be studying deep ideas of Foucault and all this shit when, those are like shortcuts to try to get an extreme edge in understanding the way the world works and stuff. But you need to know like the fake, the way things are supposed to be.
No, okay, yeah. Read Foucault and do that shit. If you want to know the court language, if you want to be able to converse with the people who run things, do that. As far as like what actually goes on in the world, no, you don't need to read that.
Right. We're speaking. There's, I've read a lot of philosophy. I've walked away and I feel like, I've gained some deep insight or whatever. However, this, you don't need to learn the triangle the triangle offense if you don't know how to do a layup. Like you have to build something, and this is kind of the point of why we hammer Clyburn, is that 99% of the people that analyze politics are either lying or just they.
I don't agree with that analogy. It's not like knowing about Jim Clyburn is the layup. Knowing about Jim Clyburn is the triangle. Knowing about Foucault is you just got to want it more. If you're a professional basketball coach, then you want to do the press conference, right? You want to say all the things, you got to hit all the marks. Like, hey, we did a really good job, we executed. You want all this bullshit that everybody knows. It means nothing. It will not help you. It will not help you understand politics.
That's good. I totally agree. And this really special thing here is that you can read the most basic newspapers. You can go read USA Today on every time he's come up in the news. This is why he's so successful, by the way, because he doesn't take for granted that people who listen to him are know everything about the machine of what he's doing for you, how, where he gets the authority to ask that of Joe Biden and stuff. He doesn't just take that for granted. There's a lot of taking things for granted elsewhere. There's no dog whistle. He just says, well, Joe Biden, so when the guys run for president, I ask them to do things for my people that vote for me, and so they'll support me, and I demand they give stuff to me, and so I can distribute to them. And he just says this in USA Today, and people are talking about the slavery and Jim Crow and stuff, and he isn't. He just says I want you to build a large DMV processing place and where my guys are, and so then I'll support you.
He can do that because he's in charge of a machine.
Yes.
That's it. I'm sure Jimmy Hoffa could have done the same thing.
Yeah, and to be honest, this is kind of a fault of even Trump won. He didn't win by a ton, but even at the level of making America great again, people are like, well, you know what that means. You know, if you know about the 1950s, make America great again means all this stuff to all these people. Most people, you got to stop assuming people know all this shit, because they really don't. People know how to use some people know how to use Excel. There's a lot of people know how to like order pizza and stuff, but people don't know any of this shit. You gotta stop with this. Dog whistles are not like they're going to become less and less effective. We have a very, very diverse country. Like, what percentage of people in our country like don't use English in their home and stuff? You can't assume that everyone, that people are like on Twitter. You could make a reference to a reference to a reference, and like
people understand it. Yeah,
4,500 people will get it. This is not how it is in the streets, and this is one of the great things about Jim Clyburn. He just says, "This is what we're going to do," and also like where I get the authority to ask that from him. That's very important.
The essence of politics. That's what it really is. And like I said, he can admit that because he's in charge of a machine, and there aren't a ton of machines left. It used to be a big part of American politics. I wonder if media and the segmentation of society has made it easier to just get done what they want done without even bothering with the machine. Like, okay, so Trump didn't have a machine.
Right.
He's almost the exact opposite of it. He just went on TV a lot and said crazy shit, so they would point a camera at him, and then he convinced people to vote for him. That's not a machine, and of course you can see the result when he gets elected. He doesn't have to do shit for the people who elected him, because there's no who's there that's going to demand it. Who with power can demand anything from him? Only people who want the opposite of the stuff that he was campaigning on. There's no Jim Clyburn who's going to keep Trump honest.
Right. The Republican Party is it's becoming like the I mean, so this is kind of swapped around different points in history. Everyone remembers. So one of the two big things you can get from the stories. Number one, the Republican Party is just sort of like a grab bag, or just like who's left over. When they had Newt Gingrich, right? So he did that contract with America. People are like, oh, this is how could you speak to people like this? No, you have to. It works. And you just say, these are the things that we'll do for you. That kind of work, because then you can kind of build coalitions and stuff. Like, in terms of like the right wing, if you looked at like how many like institutions exist to that like ostensibly would do anything for me, like I'm not saying they do anything for me. I'm saying they
even theory would.
Right, but they put this in the brochure. It's basically the NRA. That's it. And they are not what they. In other words, if you send $10 to the NRA, it used to just be like, or maybe it never was, but let's say ostensibly, this is like a war chest for lawyers who will try to antagonize to make guns more legal, right? I don't think anyone sends $10 to them and thinks more than $4 it goes towards that. You know, if I was in England, I could buy a suppressor in over the counter. Here, it takes like 18 months to get your paperwork done. It might be the same deal with the Republican Party, because the NRA is fucking huge. It's got like 30 million members. It's one of the biggest things there is. Because of that, you lose focus. But let's.
Well, it's not just, but we've been over this before. We said it I think twice already, but I'll just reiterate it one time, just for clarity. They don't have to, because the other side doesn't want you. In the last election, they straight up just said it out loud. No, we don't need you, and we don't need you in our party. So when that happens, the other side just has to say, hey, we're not going to fuck you as hard as these guys will. So that's why there's no NGO for you, because they don't give a shit.
Right.
They don't need you.
Now, this topic gets spicy in a couple ways. Number one, the way I'm just going to come out and hit you with it, this is part of the grander theory. There was some discussion about machine politics on the Angela podcast, and I don't think they were far off from what I'm going to say here. Is that so? First off, patronage, that is politics. So that means, like, if you had full luxury communism or whatever, it would be done through patronage.
Yeah, the Politburo would have
right. Like you got to understand that. Like, this is what politics is. Like, people representing people and stuff like this. I think there's intentionally this has been obscured. So number one, don't be afraid of like. Drop sort of like, we'll change the world in this way. We're going to end this or that. Just be like, this is what I would say. Go dumber, like the things where I'm saying, well, this is why I admire Jim Clyburn, because he just says things very simply. You should be like, I want free stuff. If you can't give me free stuff, I want, you might not be able to give me free stuff. Then,
I mean, come on, you're being. Of course, they can't give you free stuff. You'd have to pay. You'd have to pay for it.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
Okay.
People in Sweden get free stuff.
Yeah, Sweden's in the provinces. Sweden's not the empire. To give you free stuff, they would have to take it from wealthier people and organizations. They're not going to do that. They have no reason to do that.
I honestly believe that. And so when I say free stuff, I don't like the PMC dream is that I mean like everyone just gets a free money check from the government to never work again. It's not what I mean. I'm just talking about think dumber. Think, you know what I mean? Think like, I want well, you're going to have to give me more stuff, even if that means, I want more stuff for me, even if that means you got to take it from people live in Kentucky.
Free stuff like what?
And so what that like the most class. So what you can do for sure, like the most basic level is that spend government money in like a non-obvious graft way in my local district. So this is like they build the. They moved the white phosphorus bombs factory from Kentucky to your district, right?
Okay.
So everyone, like, I think a lot of people who are a little bit tuned into politics, they know that goes on, right? Short story. So I'm from the South, and I didn't live in a metro area, so my area was heavily Republican. We elected a Blue Dog Democrat for centuries. Why? Because he was on a really juicy budget committee. And people were like, well, he's, he doesn't agree with, Ben Shapiro on things, but he gets us free stuff. And like, even if we elected a guy that liked us more, they wouldn't have that seat on the committee. So we'll go with that guy instead. That's like a little angle to this kind of thing to describe it.
Yeah, pork belly politics, right? Well, they thanks to Mr. McCain, R.I.P., they made it a lot harder because they took out the what are they called? You know what I'm talking about, right? Like,
yeah,
it was in the mid 2000s. It was like we were told it was the worst thing in the world. It was this open government corruption that needed to be squashed, and it was open corruption. That's true, but it did need to be squashed. It's like that's how the sausage gets made.
Yeah, that's super anti-democratic because
earmarks. They would call it earmarks.
Yeah, who gets fucking earmarks? By the way, when Boeing gets something, they don't. That's not. They don't call that earmarks, and they don't call that pork belly. Pork belly is when we get stuff. Yeah. So people should be like more. I think people should be more naive, and just be like, well, I want things for me. There is a way. And like you can say, that's really low. I want I want larger things to happen for more people. I want things like free healthcare for everybody. maybe we'll develop this over the course of like the good old boys thing, but I earnestly believe that happens through this. And this involves competing with other machines and stuff like that, and it's not like a competition thing or whatever.
You're certainly not going to get universal health care the way they're doing it now. You're not going to get it by electing the people who actually campaigned on it. They're not going to be able to get it, and there's a very simple reason for that. Because how many people who are voting in the primary don't need universal health care because either they already get health care from the government, either because they're old or because they're getting government assistance. And then how many other people in the primary don't want it because they already get better insurance from their employers?
Bingo. And this is the, and so you can this goes into selectorate theory and stuff, but basically the idea is that the more people that the ruler relies, so no one rules alone. No one doesn't. Stalin, Hitler, it doesn't matter. They rule. If you read about, especially like the first 3 or 4 years, like Hitler was tiptoeing around like all the Prussian guys and stuff, like because no one rules alone, and the more people you require, the more people. There's always a machine. There's always a real machine of people who get paid. And if you're in a banana republic, this is like 4 guys. They're the generals. You need to keep them happy. Right. And if you quit paying them, you're going to be out of office. Okay, so you have a larger one. You have Jim Clyburn. Jim Clyburn is going to stay in office until he dies because he takes care of his people and they take care of him. There's no way to beat him without forming a larger machine. This is what Bernie Sanders scared them that he was going to do in 2016. He was going to say, "Hey, I've got this big swath of people that aren't dialed into machine. First off, if you're in the machine, if you're in Jim Clyburn's machine, you're not going to like it. This is one of the things
it's competition.
I don't think anyone wants to say this. I don't think anyone. I've read some of the comments with Adolph Reed and all this kind of stuff. They're like, well, his people are being tricked and all. No, they're not. And it's like, well, if Bernie got everything he wanted, they would get riches untold. And right now they just get scraps. Okay, no. It doesn't work that way. This is the bird in the hand thing. I'd rather have $5 in my pocket now than... That's
not even true, by the way. Okay, so when they do people talk about this all the time. When they do polls about universal health care, people say, should the government make sure everyone gets health care? It's very popular. It's one of the most popular things you can ask people. And people will tell you they're very concerned about health care, and they're telling the truth. The thing is, does that translate to actually voting for or really prioritizing someone who's going to give you universal health care? No. But who is it very important to the point they do prioritize that? Well, let's say people who will in the near future or already have aged out of being able to be on their parents, which means someone in their late 20s. There's someone who is not poor enough to get help from the government via the Medicaid expansions, and they're not rich enough or well placed enough to get good insurance from an employer. So that's a very narrow band of people. However, if you're on Twitter and you're talking about progressive politics, that's like everybody. So you would get this echo chamber of people who said this is the most important thing in the world, but it's to other people it's not. So is someone who's reaping benefits from Clyburn's machine, are they going to prioritize the Medicare for all the same way you do? Absolutely not.
Right. And so here's the thing those guys don't want to tell you. And it's the same thing, by the way, that they should have told that Nevada, whatever the fuck it was, the Nevada Union or whatever. Mm-hmm. They should have just told them to go to hell, and they're not going to try to get their votes. Because you can't, we're not, I'm not a materialist, are you?
No.
So we're not materialists. However, let's think of, let's go into the mind of the social stuff. you just can't offer those. Bernie Sanders just can't offer them what the Nevada, whatever the gaming union, hospitality union, or Jim Clyburn can offer his. You just can't do it. So you have to. You people still sending you money. You still want to do this thing. You can still do it. You can't do it with them. And this was the Bernie campaign was no, like we must have this black vote. Well, you can't. You can't. You shouldn't. You should just go work for Jim Clyburn. Like you don't get it. This is ridiculous. But don't. If you go too deep in that, you're going to get lost, and you're going to get in all these narratives and things. Don't worry about the narratives. There's think about all the times when the media gets really weird. I think like for millennials, we saw it in Occupy. As soon as that 99 versus 1 came out, I remember. Didn't I call you and tell you? So we had a friend that was there, Zuccotti Park, whatever. And I was driving home. I turned on NPR.
Yeah, they were.
NPR said that they should send out SWAT teams and round all these people up. Now, like as soon as the danger is over, NPR is going to say, "Wow, I can't believe we said that." We're not like that at all. But in that moment where they get scared, yes. So in other words, just you want to copy Jim Clyburn, and all you do is you offer more stuff to more people not because you're a good person, but because you want downtown.
Well, and other people have beat this to death, so I'm not going to go too far into it. The problem is with the primary is there a market for an alternative to that? And I don't think there really is. Not for the stuff that our friends wanted. So
there's universal health care works. Something similar to this came up when they were talking on the Angela podcast. They were saying, and this is more the discussion afterwards on Twitter and stuff. So they were saying that, one of these reasons these PMCs are just complete dicks that just seem to have no morals whatsoever. They'll just do anything. Is that they're really scared of having to like work at a grocery store or something like that, right? And that sucks. I've gone from a good job back to doing manual labor before. It sucks. And yeah, I'd kill someone to not do that. However, like you need to worry about yourself. If everybody does that, we'll be fine. Like I'm like what are we going to do? Everyone's just going to take a beat so that like these PMCs can not have to work? Well, fuck that. These people they hate you. Fuck them. You don't have to not like them, but they're going to have to get on the team. That's what you need to think about. So these people like the Nevada Gaming Commission, the people like Jim Clyburn, you have to think, well, you like everybody, but they need to get on the team. And that's just the way it is. Okay, so what are the stories? Okay, story number one. Sorry about that. Story number one, I don't even need to pull it up. So we've talked about it before. So the Breakfast Club's one of the biggest radio programs in the world. I think it's like a morning show in New York or something.
I've never heard of this. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. So it's called the Breakfast Club. It's like I
Is
think,
it like John Boy and Billy for people who don't use school?
yeah. Well, okay. So from what I understand, this is like the main hip hop station in New York City.
Okay.
And so you have the most popular form of music right now, and these are popular DJs, and they have the top rappers from the country come in there and talk to them and stuff. And they also, so it's huge, and people watch online, people listen on podcasts. I'm sure so it's this is like the biggest one of the biggest radio shows, and it's themed towards African American community, hip hop music, and stuff like this, right?
Okay, so it is.
Right.
It is John Boy and Billy for people who don't use skull.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. So, okay, so Biden goes on there, and people were sending this to us. They were like, oh, and so one of the hosts, his name is Charlemagne.
Charlemagne the God.
Yeah. And so people were sending, I saw people RTing this. They were like, Charlemagne sounds like he listens to Good Old Boys. Because Charlemagne was, so he was very confrontational with Joe Biden. And he was like, Joe Biden's like, he gives him the bullshit that we were talking about earlier that happens to when you're not dealt in. He says, well, what are you going to do, vote for Trump? And Charlemagne's like, no, don't tell me that. I want you to do stuff for people like me. I want stuff. I want you to do stuff for me. I want you to do stuff for black people. I want you to do stuff for people in the hood. I want you to do stuff for us.
Well, can we just be honest for a second? Yeah, of course. Yeah, he can be direct about that. He's not going to get in trouble for it. No one's going to be angry at him for doing it.
Oh, right. Here's the story in this. Okay, so now if you listen to what we said before, that Joe Biden's response would not make sense. What did Joe Biden tell him? He said, well, so he says, I want you to do things for black people. Joe Biden's like, what? Well, if you don't vote for me, you're not black anyways. Fuck off. Okay, that's pretty shocking. How does this line up with things the Good Old Boys say? Okay, because the primary's over, baby. Now you're 13% of the population. Jim Clyburn will still be working on him. However, you're not in the driver's seat anymore. And this is what Joe Biden, and this is politics. So this is Joe Biden saying, you're not in control of me anymore. That's that story. Thank you. Do you disagree with this?
I mean, Joe Biden will do stuff ostensibly for his community, and we'll get to some of that later. But they're not. It's going to be as little as possible. As far as I don't know, I don't necessarily agree with this analysis of what Joe Biden was saying was, hey, look, what are you going to do? Vote for the other guy.
That means I'm not going to do anything for you.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Would he have said that during the primary?
I mean, if he was 100% his faculties, I don't think he would have said it to begin with.
I do. So, okay, what
you think? So
the primary's over. What leverage does
Joe Biden did a version of this back in 2012 that was better. He said the Republicans want to put you back in chains. He didn't say if you don't vote for me, you're not black. He said like, hey, look, these other guys, they're horrible. There's a difference between saying those two things, right? I mean, okay, you're saying the outcome is the same. All right, that's fine. But like, you realize there's a difference between me saying these other guys want to destroy you. I'm going to protect you from that. And you're not a real black person if you don't vote for me. There's a difference between those two things.
Okay, well, the way people perceived it, he was very arrogant about it. He was like, he did not feel threatened by Charlemagne saying like.
Well, he shouldn't feel threatened because because black people are going to vote for him like 90 to 10 at worst case scenario.
Right. Now, if you go back 3 months when there's nine people running, that's not the case. You're on your best behavior in those scenarios. That's the point of the story.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. What's the other Clyburn story? Did I save it?
He said he was embarrassed that Biden said
yes.
that.
Right. And so, anyways, that's just more of the same thing. So Clyburn is still going to be working hard as he can for Charlotte.
Clyburn had a great quote. I want to say it because I saw it today and I really liked it. Clyburn said, "I compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump, not the Almighty." It's a fucking classic line.
But he's dope. People need to tune in to fucking Jim Clyburn.
Yeah.
Anyways, long story short, this guy is just openly running the primary, and people should be talking about it, but they don't. We're good old boys. A couple people asked me, messaged me. They were laughing because they were like, our podcast title was the only podcast woke enough to bring up Jim Clyburn. So that's we're gonna put that on the windbreaker.
Yeah, our Camel Club windbreaker would be Clyburn pointing at you.
People are starting to get the way that you see people just empty reply to stuff with just Clyburn just doing that. shooting the 6 guns at the camera. People need to get more naive, get more dumb like Clyburn. Okay, let's. We're done with Clyburn.
Don't say naive. You write more. You can say more dumb, more simple, but it's not naive. It's the opposite. The other people are the ones who are naive.
Right. Yes, but uncomplicate things. Be more direct. Be
more basic, bitch.
Right. Okay. So, hot off the presses here. When I was looking for that, now the big story. This is gonna. We're gonna.
I'm rubbing my hands together.
Yeah, we're gonna let our nut swing low. Drop this the day before the Patreon subs reflip. We'll just piss all you guys off. So here we go.
We'll be eating ramen noodles this week.
Yeah, so I pulled up. I was looking for it, and I just see one of our former guests here, Distributes Dave. He's got a tweet here. It says, jokes on the side. Everyone, left, right, and center, should understand that the cathedral will not abolish the police. They need the police to maintain power, which is the whole point. What is really going on is the cathedral is feeling weak, so they want to move the police authority closer to their core consensus-making apparatus. Let me read that again just for myself. What is really going on is that the cathedral is feeling weak, so they want to move the police authority closer to their core consensus-making apparatus. Expect federalization of the police with attached political officers / commissars. Okay, so why are we talking about this? Because Minneapolis...
Oh, man. Now, let's just sit back for a second. That is a fucking hot take. He's pointing to the upper decks and saying, I'm hitting the ball there. Like, that would be a sea change. Okay. I can't go that far. I don't think that'll happen.
Okay, number one, this is a transition. We're talking about Minneapolis. I don't know if the riot's still going on, but there was a riot earlier today. So back to the naive thing. Well, I am naive. Explain to me why that's hot. I don't. Okay. So
slow it down.
Okay, so first he says there will be no abolishing the police. We agree with that. We had an episode where they said, once you press people, they're like, we're just going to give NGOs power and this kind of stuff. You don't will vote for your sheriff anymore, shit like this. So
yes, when they say abolish the police, what they really mean is the police that exist now should be abolished, and then I should be put in charge of what replaces the police. That's what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he says that will the police not be abolished. Okay. So we got that. We've agreed with that. Okay. Point 2.
I don't know. I think that would be more. I think that abolishing the police and devolving authority would be much more feels more likely on the present course than the federalization of all police in America. But I don't know. I could be wrong about that.
Okay, but you got to explain this to me. So I understand. So I was going back, reading through it again. So he pushed aside that we're not going to be living law of the jungle. The people in the government need cops because they to kick your door in and where's your license? Okay, so we pushed that aside. Now he says the actual thing that's happening, cathedral. So this is, professors, unelected bureaucracies, shit like this. Feels weak. Okay, I don't know what they mean by that yet. They want to move the police authority closer to their core consensus-making apparatus. Okay, number one, what's a core consensus-making apparatus? NGOs?
No, I haven't seen the tweet or the thread it was in, and I'm just shooting from the hip here. I don't want to put words in Dave's mouth because he's way smarter than I am. But what I assume he means is that right now the police are attached to either elected officials who appoint them or by direct election by people. So right now it is a somewhat democratic process.
Son of a bitch. Okay, then he's fucking right. Okay,
yeah.
I had an argument with a guy like an hour. I mean, not an argument. I was talking with a guy an hour ago, and there was somebody, fuck the police and stuff. By the way, that's fine. You don't have to like the police. I don't like tow truck drivers, and they're just trying to feed their family and shit. They're fucking scum. But so I was saying, the police, they just do what you tell them to. If you're the mayor and city council, you can tell them to do whatever you want. You can tell them not have guns and all this kind of shit. And I just kept, and this was like a triumphant point for me. I was like, the cop. This is not the cops' idea. They're not this external unit. There's people in charge that are responsible for this. Okay, if we know anything about the way things work these days, that always warrants a patch. Small anecdote. You can't directly when they did the bump stock and all that stuff. When they were doing slow down. Politicians were going to ban the bump stock. They said all these things they're going to ban it.
If you don't know, it's just a gun thing that would let you to make your gun shoot faster in a shooty way. That's what you're talking about.
I should slow down. So in other words, there's a thing they all agreed to. They said they're going to do this thing, and they're happy to do it. And Trump triumphantly said, "I'm going to go do this thing." When it came time to do it, none of the Republican politicians would do it. What they did was none of them wanted to sign their name to it, so they wanted to get the ATF to do it. So an unnamed bureaucrat that lives in Virginia, that's just a guy he does this job, so he would do it because they didn't want to put that on their name. This is a common recurrence. Now you have this. So I'm saying, if you're mad, don't be mad at the cop. Be mad at the damn
city council.
The city council, the mayor. Okay, so they're going to fix that shit. I bet he's
so. This brings up something that happened last month. And it's relevant now because I've seen 50 fucking variations of, wow, compare the way the police treated the people in Michigan who went to the State House to the people who are in Minnesota right now. So, first of all, those people went to the State House with their guns, and they stood in front of the police, and they yelled at the police and stuff. And the message there was, we're going to the State House. You motherfuckers are responsible for this. We're angry at you. Now, that is a sign of organization. Wouldn't you agree?
It's a political threat.
But it's an organized political threat, right?
Right.
You're taking people who said, "Hey, we've figured out the people responsible for this. We're going to go." The guys geared up, but there was no, as far as I know, there was no violence, right?
Right.
Okay. Nobody's breaking anything, setting anything on fire. So compare that to what's happening in Minnesota right now as we speak. There was a mob of people, they're rioting, looting, breaking stuff, fucking up police cars, and police are shooting tear gas at them and roughing them up, whatever. We've seen this play out a million times. So, what is the difference between these two groups? Well, they have different goals and different modes of operation. But more importantly, they both have very different ideas about how society should be organized and how policing should occur. I don't even like breaking it up into right and left. I would break it up into
local.
No, I would say liberty and equity. If you were to ask the people involved, they would in terms most flattering to both groups. And equity people, well, this stupid guy who I think distributors quoted him, and everybody's making fun of his takes about the police. He said that, hey, look, if a middle-class white person calls the cops on a poor black person, then the cops need to side with the poor black person by default. And you'll never get that with our current police setup, so you have to have like Black Panthers. That's the equity theory of law enforcement. You can just have sectarian militias. And that's hey, there are places in the world that's how it's governed. If you do you want to live in a country like that?
I hate I hate these because number one, it's a lie. They're not going to let anyone else do this. It's second off, this that guy that's like a dude that's been like this is like a 98-pound white guy dresses like Darkwing Duck, and. And he draws comic strips, like lives in London or something, and he's making security decisions about how people in the Bronx are going to manage conflict. I don't know, that doesn't work for me under the localist frame, under the Black Panther frame. It doesn't work for me under the other frame.
Well, it's not supposed to.
Yeah. So if you engage with this, you're getting fucked with.
Okay. Well, it's like that quote. Yeah, you might not be interested in it, but it's interested in you. Because look at the other big story that we had about the Karen and the guy in Central Park. So the two very unlikable people. I don't care about what happened with them. I'm really interested in people's reaction to it. And one of the reactions was that this woman was basically doing a crime by calling the cops on this guy. That if you call the police on a black man, that you're essentially threatening. You're trying to do violence to them, right? Just by virtue of the act. There are people who agree with that frame, and they might even make efforts to. Well, they already have. Like, how many times over the course of last year were there stories about some person, like usually like a lady calling the cops on a black person in the neighborhood, and like it became a national news story, right?
Yeah,
you remember this?
We're doing these once a week during the summers now.
Yeah, so this is part of what they offer to groups of people instead of improving their material conditions. It's, hey, look, we're not going to actually, your neighborhood, we're not actually going to fix it. We're not going to do anything about the job situation. We're not, none of that stuff. But here's what we will do. We're going to make it, we're going to make it so like that person gets in trouble if they call the cops on somebody who looks like you. And that, if you live in like a bad neighborhood in Detroit, that does nothing for you. But it can help. For example, the Central Park guy. I mean, he's like a celebrity now, right?
Well, he was a celebrity before. Both these people walked into this conflict with Wikipedia pages.
Perfect. Well, you can see the benefit for somebody like him. It's not going to help you if you live in a shitty neighborhood, but it can do things for him. It'll do things for people who make money talking about this. It's going to make your life worse if you live in a bad neighborhood, just like whatever police reform that they're going to do. And I agree with you. We're never going to get law of the jungle because, like we've talked about this many times. We love that. That'd be great.
I'm down.
I'm sick of hearing about this shit, and this is we know where it's going. We're getting a repeat of what happened when my mom was a baby. And I would just like to speed the cycle up so that you guys can get this out of your system, and in 15 years or whatever, you can reelect some Giulianis. And because you always got to go through this fucking cycle in the urban centers where, we should relook at how we treat criminals and how crime and punishment. And then the crime rate goes back up and everybody gets scared. And people fucking ran away from New York City immediately when the bat flu hit. Do you think these people are going to hang out if the streets became measurably more dangerous? So you just hurry it up, guys. You don't have to listen to people complaining about the price of Copenhagen or like the possum epidemic constantly on the news. We shouldn't have to listen to this shit 24/7.
Yeah, it's when this one broke, I just stepped away because we talked about Foucault earlier, and I always thought the interesting thing about he's number one, the most cited guy in academia. So he's the McDonald's, right? This is the hamburger. This is the plain hamburger.
McDouble, yes.
Yeah, that most people order every day, no matter what. But he still retains. He's also the most elite and cool. Okay, so these incidents they're both they generate the most heat, and they happen constantly. I read that 40 black guys have been get shot a year. Not shot. It's
unarmed
killed
by the police. That was somebody threw that. I don't know if that's accurate. Sounds about right.
But this is okay. I don't know where we want to get that number to, but 300 million. This country. There's no exposure therapy to this. It's the hottest topic, and it's the most common topic.
I guess it was a locked episode, so maybe everybody who's listening didn't hear it. This is shit you're being marketed to when these things happen. It's propaganda. All this shit is propaganda. There's a reason that this is extremely important for everybody to know about. How many fucking people get murdered? How many people died in Chicago and Baltimore in the last week? Nobody gives a shit about that. They give a shit about this because for whatever reason, it's being pushed.
Well,
it's almost frustrating to even talk about it because it's not going to help anybody except for the people who want to consolidate their power, which is exactly what they plan on doing.
right. This is the. There was a minor. I don't even know about minor. This big time probably because like the podcast world of politics is very small. YouTube is huge.
Yeah.
In the past week, YouTube did the thing where one of the big YouTube guys was like, you can never form a coalition with people who are racist and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, and it's very,
the skull pussy guy, right?
yeah. I get into these weird things, right? So I had to mute a bunch of people, those mutuals and shit, because they
And it get ridiculous every time something like this happens.
What happens is I get tied up with people that like I don't see how this is going to help me either way. Let's start out there, right? So like let's say like I went all in for the police and I started like citing statistics and all this kind of bullshit and all this stuff like that. Doesn't really get me anywhere. And by the way, the people that are in charge of the police, they don't like me either. Right? So this isn't going to, like, especially go back to the thing Distribua said. Like, if I was actually, like more savvy, self-interested, the people that are in charge of the police now, or even in this Distribua situation, they don't like me, right? These Metro Police Departments, like city councils, mayors.
Oh, stuff. Yeah, the Metro City, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not their target demo, no matter how this works out. And so if I'm defending them, like, the joke is on me. So now it's like, oh, you're a Nazi and all this bullshit. Also you're doing it for people that despise you. That's not a situation I want to be in. And so, but I get tied up with these people, and they're like, I'm trying to like analyze it and figure out what's going on in the world, and they're like, this is like a chess piece on a board to like create a beautiful future. And they're like, how could you, and I'm like, well, did you see this 5 seconds before that was they were wrestling and this guy had a gun, and they're like, what, you get tied up with these people and like, you're like, mutually friends or whatever. And they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? We have a mission here. We're making the world. Who would say something like that? And I'm thinking like, well, I don't get these checks that you guys are getting. Okay, so I get these confusing interactions. Do you know what I mean? I've wandered into this building where the Crips and the Bloods are, and I'm like, and I'm like, well, whose territory was it first?
You're arguing with people who are arguing on behalf of other people, and all you can do reasonably in that situation is say, hey, the thing that you want wouldn't help those people, so you're wrong. But it doesn't matter if you do that, because everybody who has power and who people in charge of teaching people and in charge of marketing, they all say you're wrong. They're saying this is the correct thing. You're wrong. You understand what I'm saying? You're right. There's nothing that you can say about this, because it would be your word against everybody else's. And they say, hey, we got to do something about the police. Okay, what are you going to do about the police? The answer was, what, implicit bias training? Okay, you think that's going to help? They fucking fired the guys who did it. The story should be over. This shouldn't be a national news story. It shouldn't be a riot.
Well, this is where you get... Okay, so the people say, well, AOC said this today. Now, when AOC starts talking...
She's afraid of the political power, yeah.
Yeah, she said, the police unions are too powerful. We can't put the leash on them. Okay, so that's just a fucking lie.
Of course it's everybody lies about that. This is what makes me... people who I like on here fucking lie about it. Everybody lies about it. And not only is it a lie, but you put yourself in danger if you even offer alternatives to it. So it's a big fucking joke.
Right. This is why I think both of us, we're just accelerationists on this, right? We want, like you said.
I am, because I live in a place where I fucking elect the county sheriff. So fucking do whatever in Minneapolis, in New York, Atlanta, L.A., whatever. You guys just do you, and so I don't have to hear about it anymore.
I've been in a closed meeting with rich guys, and a chief of police, and not the is the deputy is not the top guy, is he? But he is he.
Not the deputy sheriff? No.
Okay,
sheriff.
so the deputy sheriff, that's just what they call a street cop. Okay, so anyway.
Yeah, the sheriff appoints deputies. That's how it works.
Right. So I was in a room. This was like I was in a room before with a chief of police or one of his representatives. I think it was the chief, and then the sheriff was he wasn't there. It was but it was one of his top guys, like a guy he was grooming to replace him. And the sheriff was a class act and operated like you would expect, like a corrupt official would. The city police officer said, like, for us to do our job, you're going to have to funnel a bunch of money to a organization that we're like one of these I don't know what you call it, but it wasn't like the wives fund or whatever. But you know what I'm saying?
I get you. Yeah.
Yeah. They wanted cash to do their normal job, and so cops are fucking dirty. But okay, so addressing this claim, there's what you get is the mayor and the mayors in Portland and the city council and stuff. They would rather not any minority gets arrested. I'm gonna shock you by saying that. I'm gonna stand for these people that hate my guts, and I'm gonna say they really don't want these people be arrested, hurt, and shot. And by the way, these people that are doing these violent things, they're in charge of them. Okay, so and then they're saying, well, we can't. These guys, they just do it, and we can't stop them. Why is that the case? Because if they were to like follow like the guidelines of like police reformists or something, they couldn't have a police. They wouldn't do it. They're like, well, why does a cop need a gun? There's a legitimate argument that ultimately I don't think works, but we talk about police activity all the time. If you go on police activity and you look at the videos, they post every video of police shooting that hits the public. A disturbing percentage of them are suicide by police. This is just a way of suicide people have figured out. You just you grab your cap gun and you get your car and you start running at a cop and he's gonna kill you. I don't want to get into it, but like tasers and shit, they're not good enough right now. They're not going to put you down. They try, and like once out of 10 times it works. Not to get into the discussion, but it really doesn't put people down. So what if the cop didn't have a gun? Most, like at least half these times these guys are charging the cop, like they have their hand in their pocket on a banana, or it's an airsoft gun more commonly, right?
Yeah, that just happened. A guy with a pellet rifle stole a car and ended up getting shot because the cops saw the pellet rifle and they killed him.
Right. Yeah, because that's a common. So because
the cop's not wrong to do that. By the way, if you think that's like that you see a guy who stole a car and has a gun and and the cop shoots at him when they reach for it, and you think like the cop should be fired for that. I'm sorry, I don't think that your view of policing would work in the United States of America.
Oh, okay, but this is where the point becomes up. Let's say you just made that the rule. You just said, well, you don't get you don't get a gun, or you can't shoot the gun also. Now you don't have a police force because people aren't going to do that. People aren't going to die for like social justice bullshit. Okay, they're just not. Like,
right.
They just want a job. They'll leave it and they'll go work at Wells Fargo or something. There's not like a permanent population willing to die for this kind of stuff. You have to make a deal with them. So this is the thing that ASC this bullshit. Like, why are they people now? This is what I'm kind of weighing around just for fun. People are saying, well, they should just fight these people.
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't do that. However, if you started offering people like $250,000 a year and be like, okay, you can't lead with bullets. You need to go octagon style on perps when they if they like fuck you, I don't want to go in. You just need to defeat them in hand to hand combat. That's pretty badass. I'm not going to say I'm against it, but I would. I mean, I don't know how much you'd have to pay me to.
That is the model in some European countries, and they all have something in common. They have places that the police aren't going to go.
Yeah, they just stopped going to this place. Yeah, this is.
I mean, so what AOC, her quote, and you can look it up if you want, but I wouldn't bother because it's a lie. And the purpose of the lie is, hey, you need to give me power to do this. It'll work until things get so shitty that it's untenable, and then they'll elect another like freak like Giuliani who will.
I mean, make no. He basically he was just, I'm gonna put all the young black guys in jail and we'll end crime that way.
That's the meta strategy of law enforcement in America, and it has been since the 70s. So we're just going to throw young men who commit crimes in jail and throw away the key. We're going to keep them. We're going to separate them from society. And that's it. When people talk to you about how we need to abolish prison, we need to do bail reform and stuff. Well, you can't just do that. You have to have an alternative because this was done for a reason. And it really is probably the worst solution to the problem you can think of. But the problem doesn't go away because you want it to. Like if we do nothing but that, then we're gonna have fucking crime rates rise again.
I hate to come to this conclusion, but you got to take a materialist angle on this because and here's how I would say this. So. There are police departments that they're like a little bit further on these kinds of things than other places. When you see video of like say New York police officers or London police officers, what's your reaction? Do you feel like, oh, these are cool guys, I could hang out with these guys?
No,
it's not. I'm sure it's just like me. I feel I am more disgusted with these people than you are. Like the anti-police activists, these are these same again. The police is like a sliding thing that's created by these conditions that you put in.
Yep, exactly. Well, you got skin in the game. I don't. I live in the middle of nowhere. These things aren't going to really affect me that much. You live in the city. This you do have skin in the game here.
Well, one thing I always think of is the baddest drug gang in America for 30 years was the New Orleans Police Department. They did all this stuff where they did become their own entity. And why did they become their own entity? Because the cities and shit they didn't want to, the same things we're talking about. They didn't want to they're just like, do whatever you want, guys. We don't need cuffs on some people. So they were like, well, okay, we just won't arrest drug dealers. We'll just go take their fucking drugs and sell them ourselves. That's probably still, that was going on like into the 2000s. It was still like a powerful drug mafia, the fucking New Orleans Police Department.
Yeah, like you said, this is a problem. There's if you're somebody like us, there's nothing in this either way for us because we don't like the police, and I certainly don't agree with the abolish crowd. They would fuck things up even worse than they are now. So this is kind of one of those things where I'm a spectator, but the thing that bothers me is the constant fucking lying. It's one thing if you want to, prescribe stupid solutions to things, but don't fucking lie about it too and make me have to see it over and over again. Here's what I'd say, and I think this would go for everybody. Even if you hate these things we're saying, don't forget what the fucking police is. This is the business end. This is the last step in the chain of the fucking government. This is what it is. So like in every instance, so like when you talk about labor laws, all this kind of bullshit, at the end of the line, this is what that is. These people knock on your door and they say fucking pay up or whatever. Don't. So when these fucking politicians say, "Oh, don't look at us," it's the fucking cops.
a fucking person's writing legislation is saying, "Don't look at me. What's this got to do with me?"
Yeah, I'm not hitting you. It's my fist.
Yes.
I got nothing to do with this.
Don't fucking take that from them. Portland mayor, whatever, they could fire every fucking cop in the force and replace them overnight. Don't let these fucking politicians out on this bullshit. It's their fault.
Yeah, go fucking tear City Hall. It would be more productive.
Okay.
Went a little longer than I thought.
Yeah, we've cleaned, and now we're
It was pretty hot.
We're taking it like an advanced move. We want to put, we want to do what we think the Portland mayor should do. We're going to clean out our listeners here and start afresh.